What's good? Bevan here with Tried and True EDC. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Reeve knives Umnumzaan, and this is the Monkey Edge exclusive that has their unique frag pattern on the scales. We're also going to answer, is this worth the premium over the standard Umnumzaan? I chapter out my videos, so if you just want to hear my final thoughts, well, I will talk about that. Then go ahead and jump to that portion of this video. Before we jump in, let's talk about what you get when you purchase a Reeve knife, especially this one in particular. So you'll get that microfiber cloth. Actually, it's not really microfiber. It's just a cloth. It's got your standard box. I will say I've noticed that on exclusives and special editions, the color of the box is blue, where typically they're white. Get all this stuff right here. This is the thread locker as well as fluorinated grease. I have removed the lanyard, as you can see, as well with the pin. And then it gives you 3 hex wrenches. Inside of this, you will find your birth card. So this one was made on May 29th, 2025. And then some information about the knife, the components of it, sticker, whatnot. That's not what we came here for, is it? Let's talk about the blade. Beautiful stone wash. I love the way Reeve does their stone wash. Excellent, excellent. This has the Tonto blade shape on it. As you can see, it is a hollow grind. It uses thumb studs for deployment. I will say I have maybe once in my life been able to open it with my left hand. Oh, look at that. That's twice. And that's it. 2 times in my life have ever opened it with my left hand. So keep that in mind. I have a buddy who actually is fully ambidextrous with this knife. Very impressed, quite jealous. This does run on washers. So the action has that Reeve hydraulic action a lot of people most people talk about. And it has these O-rings to kind of provide a bit of cushion when the thumb studs contact the top of the handles or the scales. It's got jimping right here for your thumb. Very well done. It's effective but not overly aggressive. If you do choke up, you can use this portion of the spine for your thumb. It's kind of like a little divot for your thumb. Beautiful blade. Completely sterile. Definitely one of the things that attracted me to Reeve knives. Let's find out if it's sharp. All right, let's start with the paper. That's pretty sharp. Zip tie it. A bit more pressure than I expected. It's handling that rope. Not a problem at all. Let's talk about the handle. This has a glass blasted finish, and that's a premium that you have to pay for. It's like $50 upcharge from Reeve. They'll either release it with or without the glass blast. Otherwise, it's a sandblasted finish. There are other exclusives where you can get a Cerakote finish. You can see the Monkey Edge MEFP for their frag pattern, Monkey Edge frag pattern. Got that Reeve logo right there. It's made in Idaho. It's a nice little touch on the lock bar stabilizer. Beautifully done. I really like the way their glass blasted finish looks. You got your pivot, and you only got one hardware for the body, for the handle. It has a standoff in the back. Very minimalistic in that sense. Only 2 points to keep it intact. You see that frag pattern, very well done. This is where the lanyard was with the pin, and so you can get a pin replacement, a lanyard pin replacement, where it just fills that up, and it's essentially another standoff with body screws. Let me just give you a sneak peek of what that looks like. So it will look like something like this. Let's talk about the action. As I mentioned, the Chris Reeve hydraulic action. It's certainly on the Umnumzaan. Lots of control. You can flick it open. I know some of you might be cringing right now because there are people on the subforum that talk about how that is not the right way to open a Chris Reeve, and I've read that by doing that you can void your warranty. Whatever. I usually like to slow roll my Chris Reeves, but maybe sometimes I'm in a rush and I want to open it a little bit faster. I will say this is very therapeutic if you slow roll it. An excellent action. It does use a frame lock, as you can see. And I like the way as soon as you overcome that detent ball, there is no additional stopping point. I believe they use a ceramic detent ball for the Zaan. And it's right at the top of the lock bar. So that's the reason why you don't have an additional stopping point. I neglected to mention when I was talking about the blade that there is an integrated glass breaker. I have tested it out and it works. Excellent action on this one. Interesting enough, I've had a Zaan way back when, before the MagnaCut versions came out. By the way, this Steel's MagnaCut, and I think it was the S35VM version. For some reason, it was very, very difficult for me to open as well as disengage the lock. I don't know if they've updated that design or something in their processing, but it's a lot easier to open and disengage. Let's talk about the pocket clip. I like Chris Reeve pocket clips. They have just the right amount of retention, plenty of ramp for the thicknesses of the seams on your pockets. So why don't we take a look at that in the pocket. All right, so a bit more knife than I would prefer sticking out of the pocket. Just slightly though, just ever so slightly. It does not take up too much real estate, so there's plenty of room in the pockets left over. Easy out, easy in. And this portion acts like a second retention point. So you got that point and then this part. But it depends on how thick the seams are, because if they're not that thick, then that second point of retention isn't very helpful or effective. Let's talk about ergonomics. For myself, the Umnumzaan is not the most comfortable in hand. I prefer the Cozy the most. I don't have one on this table or near me to show you. However, the Saber grip seems to be the most comfortable for me, like this. And really, I'm tucking in this portion of the pocket clip between these two fingers. If you get into a hammer grip, you start feeling the pressures not only from this portion of the pocket clip, as well as this part of the pocket clip, because it kind of digs in to your pinky. If you're wearing gloves, you're probably not going to really feel those points of pressure. In your reverse grip, reverse grip feels good. Not too many hot spots. If you grip it hard enough, you might be able to feel some here, maybe something right here on this portion of the pocket clip. I'm just testing this out in case I ever have to use it as a fist filler or breaking using the glass breaker. overall, it's comfortable enough. No real complaints. There are some hot spots, so be aware of that if you're not familiar with the Zaan. Yeah, really just right there. And it's a result of how much ramp they're giving on the pocket clip. So you sacrifice being able to get through more material or thicker seams for a bit more comfortability. But in the saber grip, I think is the ideal way to kind of handle this particular knife. Let's talk about cost and availability. Boy, these are extremely hard to get. They're never available. They drop and they're gone within minutes at most. Monkey Edge, they don't really give a advanced notice on their drops, and it's kind of like they announce it on social media when it drops. So I do follow their Instagram account, and that has been the best way, most successful way I've gotten drops. Make sure you turn on the notifications for your phone, so as soon as you see Monkey Edge pop, check it out, see what that notification is, head over to their website. The thing is, they don't always put this on the new release goods, like new arrivals page, so you do have to search for it, which is what I had to do. And I was in the middle of picking up my daughter from school, just randomly standing there and looked down at my phone. I saw a notification from Monkey Edge on Instagram, clicked on it, saw that they dropped it, and I went and grabbed it. Shortly after, they released the drop point version of this as well, but yeah, that's how I got it. You probably have a better chance of getting a ride on a unicorn than to pick up one of these from their drop. This was $675, and we'll talk more about that because that's going to lead to whether or not I think this is worth it or if it provides more value than the standard Umnumzaan. But yeah, $675. The Monkey Edge does charge for shipping, regardless of how much you spend there. At least they're consistent in that sense. So I paid $687 after shipping. Not too bad. Well, not too bad for the shipping. Don't get me wrong. $687 is a lot of money for a pocket knife. Again, we'll talk more about that. So your best bet is the secondary market, but there is 99.9% confidence that I have that these will be sold for more than retail. I'm going to do some quick comparisons. So I have the sandblasted version of the Zaan, the standard one, and then I have the glass blasted version of the Zaan with the drop point. This one on top is $500. This one on bottom with the glass blast is $550. Ignore taxes and shipping. This one in the middle, as I mentioned, is $675. That is $125 more than the bottom one. And truly the only thing different, well, let's outside the blade shape, but even if it was the Tonto version on this, it'd be $550. The finish on these are very similar, but as I'm looking at it now, there might be a more matte looking finish to the Monkey Edge version. You have the Monkey Edge logo instead of the Chris Reeve one on the lock bar stabilizer. And then you get a frag pattern throughout. You get this part, MEFP right there. I actually like the milling pattern on the standard one. Let's jump into my final thoughts. I'm a huge fan of Chris Reeve knives. The Umnumzaan, the Nkosi, and the Sebenza are my three favorite models. I actually don't have any of the other folding models, so I can't really comment on that. But I have multiple versions, as you can see, of each of those three models. I do not think it's worth... So, wait, let me rephrase this. Let me start over. There's two ways to look at this. If you're simply getting this knife for use and you're carrying it as a tool, then it is not worth the $125 difference. Again, $550, $675. That's $125 difference, not to mention the stress of trying to get these on the drop. However, One of the reasons why you have high-end expensive knives is because okay, see, can't open on my left, is that you're investing in them, then it is worth it. Because every single Monkey Edge exclusive Chris Reeve I have seen, not only once they drop, they sell out right away, but they resell in the secondary market for at least 20 to 30% higher, if not more. I want to, for full disclosure, I am not the type of person to do that. I have nothing against those who do. However, I am someone who's truly passionate about knives, and I want to enjoy the functionality of a knife. A knife wasn't meant to be purchased. Outside of art knives, they're not meant to be purchased to put in a safe. They're meant to be used, carried, enjoyed, fidget with it, whatever. Cut with it, specifically cut with it. So I'm not the type of person that went and bought this knife just so I can resell it later for more. But back to me trying to stay on point, so I apologize for that tangent, is that I don't think there's nothing that changes about functionality, because let's say if you talk about grippiness of the handle, there is no discernible difference between the standard milling from the regular Zaan, let's just call it that, versus a Monkey Edge exclusive. Nothing at all whatsoever. These additional milling that extends to the bottom of the handle does not change how it feels in hand. They're both magnet cut steel, both titanium frames. And really, it's kind of self-explanatory. When you make something elusive and hard to get, and you create this demand, of course, it becomes an investment, or it sells for more. Right? Scalpers and flippers will sell it for more. And it just kind of sucks as it takes away from the people who want it to enjoy and use it. Granted, if that's the reason, there's no real reason why you should be chasing after this unless you are collecting it, versus buying the standard. For myself, I like Chris Reeve knives, and so I've been wanting to get one of these for many years. When I finally saw it drop and I was able to have the opportunity to purchase it, I did. I'm thinking about replacing my other Tonto that is the sandblasted version, but then at the same time, I like the sandblasted version. So really, to make a long story short, I don't think it's worth it unless you're strictly doing it from an investment standpoint, because these typically do go up in value. If you're not familiar, Wilson Combat used to have a contract with Chris Reeve that made their Star Benza, and they did it with the Cozy as well as the Zaan. And those are no longer produced. So there is somewhat a potential short lifespan for exclusive Chris Reeve knives. So from an investment standpoint, yeah, it's worth it. But from a strictly functional and I'm using it daily, no. Don't spend $125 extra to get this one over this. That's not worth it in my opinion. Let me know what you think though, because just one person's opinion. We'd love to hear about the discourse on this, so drop a comment and let me know. Always appreciate my viewers tuning in, and if you're new, truly appreciate you checking the video out. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay frosty.